evening and welcome back to another edition of the Raw Prospect Podcast. My name is Michael Ween. Joining me tonight is my fantastic co-host, Emmy Nixon. It's Wednesday, August 7th, 10:30 p.m., and we are coming at you tonight with our monthly August 2024 Summer Olympics centric gut check, but an all sports discussion. We've done this in the past. We go back and forth. Anything's on the table when it comes to the sports world, and we ask each other in various ways, open-ended, on-the-spot questions about things that are going on in the sports world. And we're going to be here for the next 30 to 35 minutes in an abbreviated edition of Gut Check. So hopefully you guys enjoy. If you're not already, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel and our videos. And we would greatly appreciate that. Emmy, what's up?
Nothing much, man. I have been enjoying this Olympics thoroughly. I gotta say, I don't know if you saw the pole vaulting the other night. Insane, incredible. Like that Swedish guy, he's like kind of like skinny and scraggly looking. If you saw him on the street, like you would never be able to know that he's like a world record setting athlete. But he gets up on that bar, man. He's just weightless. It's incredible.
Okay, well, let's jump right in. We have no time to waste. You start us off. Where do you want to start? Throw me a question.
All right, yeah. So I had a couple of questions on USA basketball.
Okay.
So as you know, the USA's basketball has LeBron back on the team this time around, and before the Olympics started, LeBron was voted the best player on the team by his peers. So my question to you is, does that and also just how he's been playing in this Olympics change how you rank LeBron among today's NBA?
Does it change how I rank LeBron in
Currently.
today's NBA currently? I have to say no, because I haven't actually really thought of where I rank LeBron in today's hierarchy of the best basketball players in the world. But I don't think that really changes my opinion either way. He's great. He's been playing awesome. He saved USA's ass in, I don't know, what was it, one or two of the exhibition games.
Yeah.
They lose those games in embarrassing fashion if it's not for LeBron. But I don't know that him being voted as the best player changes my mind on where he slots in today's NBA. But maybe you have a differing opinion, or do you?
I'm on the same wavelength as you, I would say, but I definitely do think seeing him side by side with these players, still controlling the game, orchestrating everything, and like just the the fear that he strikes into a defense, just with just his presence on the floor. I definitely do think the last couple of years, like in my mind, he's like, whether it was conscious or not, he had been sliding down the list that I had made, like somewhere between the 8 to 15 range. And I do think that that ranking is right, but I actually do think he's closer to 8 than he is to 15.
I would agree with that. Do you want to continue your series of USA basketball questions, or do you want to now me ask?
I'll shift it back over to you.
Okay. I don't have a ton of Olympics questions for you tonight, but I did have one, and I've gone back and forth on how I want to phrase this. Because I know for me at least, I'm not a Olympic historian. I haven't watched all the Olympics in great detail for which I've been alive. And I know there have been a lot of great Olympians just in our lifetime. But my question for you is buy or sell, because this is the only legitimate way I could ask or think to ask this question. Simone Biles is the GOAT Olympian, or I should say this, the greatest American Olympian of men or women of this, I guess, what would it be? Millennium? Like of the 2000s.
Okay, of the 2000s. Okay,
Because you got a lot of greats in there. You have, a Usain Bolt, you've got Michael Phelps,
Katie Ledecky.
you've got Katie Ledecky, you've got even like a Kevin Durant, who I think is setting records for USA basketball.
Right.
But I think this makes 9 total medals for Simone, 6 of which are gold. So I just want to get your thoughts on buy or sell and what your overall thoughts on Simone are, because she's just flat out incredible in my opinion.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, at 27 years old, like just competing in general in gymnastics is like extremely unprecedented. She's almost like a LeBron of gymnastics in that aspect. Like that, like 27 is 40 in gymnastics. It is definitely a young 20s, high teens type of sport, just with the amount, just with the toll it takes on your body. So I'll give her credit there, but oh man, I don't want to sound like a hater saying this, but I definitely.
Here's how I would.
My favorite Olympian of my lifetime is probably Usain Bolt.
Okay.
But here's the thing: he didn't have as many medals as Simone Biles has now, so that makes it tough. So I would say it would be between her, Phelps, and Katie Ledecky. And on it, I might even say it's Katie Ledecky, because I think this is her 4th or 5th Olympics at this point. I think in her prime, in her main race, like the 800-meter freestyle, she carried the top 26 world record times in her race, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And like that level of dominance, I think is just, I mean, it's a little bit comparable to what Simone has done, but I feel like there's no way to really, there's not as much of a way to really quantify what Simone has done compared to Katie Ledecky. But it's tough.
It is. Thing I'll say on it is, I think for what Simone Biles has accomplished, I think she's, when compared to her peers in her respective arena, the best or the greatest in a way. Like, I think the gap between her and the next great U.S. gymnast, whoever that is, may be bigger than the gap between our 2 greatest swimmers, which are Michael Phelps and Katie Ledecky. That's just my general opinion, but I think in that way, for what she's done for gymnastics in the United States, it's on another level of greatness. Right. Okay.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Michael Phelps has 28 medals.
Yeah, that's
Olympic
hard
medals,
to.
23 gold medals.
That's hard to, in terms of being the GOAT. In terms of being the most decorated, it's absolutely Michael Phelps. But Simone is Simone's on that track.
On that Mount Rushmore for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, back to you.
All right. My next question for you, again, like U.S. Olympic basketball. My question for you is: which of the three teams remaining is USA's toughest matchup if they were to play? France, Germany, or Serbia? So France, uh, Wemby and Gobert, of course, are their main players, but they also have Batum and Evan Fournier as well.
Okay.
And then Germany has Dennis Schroeder from like the Wagner brothers, um, Daniel Tice. So
And then who does Serbia has Jokic?
Serbia has Jokic and Bogdan Bogdanovic as their main NBA guys.
Um, from a matchup standpoint, you'd probably be better suited to answer that because I haven't. I got to be honest. I haven't watched a full game of,
Gotcha. Yeah.
of Germany or Serbia. Um, but from being like a biggest threat standpoint, um, to the USA, because I think USA is winning gold. I think we would agree on that.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, but the biggest threat, who does USA play next? Like, who is their next game?
Their semifinal is against Serbia.
Okay.
And they played Serbia during the group stage, and the stat that everybody talked about was the teams were tied 83 to 83 when Nikola Jokic was on the floor, but the USA ended up winning by 27
See, because Nikola Jokic can't be
on the floor at all
on the
times.
floor the whole time, I don't know how I can say Serbia. And I think it might actually be Germany who's the biggest threat based on what I've seen, but I'd be interested to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, I definitely do think Serbia is the third team I would rank. And
Yeah,
then between France and Germany, I lean Germany just because they have more depth
yeah,
um, at every position, pretty much. I mean, I think France is a little bit thin at guard.
yeah.
Um, I'm not sure who they were even starting at point guard. I think it was Elia Kobo or Frank Ntilikina, I think, which isn't really ideal. So um, I would lean Germany because I think Dennis Schroeder I mean, he's been fantastic in his Olympic career.
Yeah.
This time around, he's averaging, I think, 28 per game or something like that. He's been putting up really great numbers, and then of course the Franz, or I keep saying the Franz brothers, the Wagner brothers. Uh, of course, the Wagner brothers as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely lean Germany.
Yeah. I think I would agree there. Um, okay. Good question. I'll have to make sure I watch the entirety of the semis and the finals.
Yeah,
Um,
semis are going to be pretty interesting for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. So my next question is not Olympics related. I don't know how many more Olympics questions
Yeah,
you
I don't have any more either.
um and I don't want to take us off the rails here, but and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I want your ranking of the top 5 quarterbacks in the SEC going into this year. And I'll give you my ranking
Okay, okay.
off the top of your head.
Carson Beck at 1.
Agreed.
Um, trying to think, am I forgetting anybody? But yeah, Quinn Ewers at 2.
Agree.
I think he's more proven than Jackson Dart in big games. Um, let's see. At 3, I think it might be Connor Wakeman at
Okay.
A&M. Oh, wait, that's a tough one. It's between him and Dart. Wait. I forgot about Milrow. Yeah. Okay. So three is where Milrow would go.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because of his running ability, I think he'll take a step forward as a passer. 4. This might be a hot take. Ole Miss fans won't like it, but I have Connor Wakeman at 4, and then Jackson Dart at 5.
Okay. We agree on our top 3. I have Carson Beck at 1. I have Quinn Ewers at 2. And I have Jalen Milrow at 3. Although I would actually hear arguments if you're projecting
Yeah.
that Jalen Milrow could be 2 and Quinn Ewers could be 3, because of the added element of Jalen Milrow as a runner and what he can do with his legs. But for what we've seen on the field so far in the sample sizes as a passer and what we saw on the field in Tuscaloosa, although it's just one game, you give the edge to Ewers. So I would go Beck, Ewers, Milrow. I'm a benefit of the doubt guy. I'm a sample size guy. So I would give Jackson Dart
Yeah. That's fair.
the edge at 4. 5 is the interesting discussion. For me, I give Brady Cook at Missouri an edge over Weigman just because he's been healthy and I've seen more of him. And I put Weigman at 6.
Okay.
But it's very close. I
Yeah.
think talent-wise, Weigman is probably more talented. But from what I've seen, I've just seen more of Brady Cook. And what he did
Right.
with
Yeah.
Missouri last year was I take that into consideration. So
For sure. Yeah.
You-
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with your list. I can see where you're coming from, but that's how I would view it right now.
Okay. This is my question. It kind of leads off of that one. I didn't prepare this at all, but my question is: out of the first year starters in the SEC,
Ooh.
which one are you most confident in right now? And this could just be all. This is all gut because we don't really know much about a lot of these guys.
First year starters in the SEC.
The kid from
So
Tennessee,
talking about
Oklahoma has
Nico
first year
Iama.
starter.
God, I can't say his last name. The Nico kid from Tennessee.
Yeah,
Jackson Arnold at OU.
right.
There are a couple others, but those are really the ones
Yeah, the main ones.
that are probably in this discussion. I'm going with Nico from Tennessee for a couple different reasons. Number one, I have a higher level of faith in what Josh Heupel is providing me from an offensive schematic standpoint and his track record offensively of developing quarterbacks, at least at the college level. Think about a Hendon Hooker, what he did. Say what you want about, Joe Milton, but what he was, I have a higher level of confidence in that from an offensive schematic standpoint than I do Oklahoma. And I just think that Tennessee overall is going to be better up front on the offensive line than Oklahoma is. Oklahoma is remaking a lot of that offensive line, some with transfers, some with freshmen. And I think the weapons, from what I have read up on, are about comparable. But I'm giving Josh Heupel kind of the benefit of the doubt over what Oklahoma situation is right now. I have a lot of confidence in Nico. I think he could be a sleeper for like being in the Heisman race.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
But that's not to say that Jackson Arnold won't end up being a fantastic player, or that he won't end up being a better player overall than Nico this year. I have more confidence, though, going into the season in Nico than I do Arnold. To answer your question.
Yeah, I think I would
You have a
probably say the
different
same.
answer?
No, I think I'm right there with you. I don't know much about the kid at Kentucky right now. I think he's a
Yeah.
transfer.
Brock
Um,
Vandegrift from Georgia. Yep.
right. But yeah, from what Josh Pate has said on this kid at Tennessee, um, I'll trust that. To be honest, I think the word has been that he's ready to he's going to be ready to go. So okay, you're up.
Okay. Trying to think. What was another question? Oh, so right now, you have guys that are having great. You have two young guys that are having fantastic seasons in the American League that are in the absolute running for American League MVP. Those guys, you can probably guess who they are Bobby Witt Jr. of the Kansas City Royals and Gunnar Henderson for the Baltimore Orioles. But right now, August 7th, 10:50 p.m., given that the Yankees are right now tied, at least for the lead in the American League East with the Orioles, and given the numbers that Aaron Judge is putting up, your vote for MVP would go to Aaron Judge over Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt Jr. Buy or sell?
Buy. I mean, to me, it goes like this. Do you have the wins? Check. He's tied for first place. Are you the best player on a contending team? Check. Which in baseball, to be fair, that's not always the case. In Shohei's case, but um, for in this context, I think it matters for this particular race. Um, and I mean, the numbers that you've sent me on him, I mean, in our just in iMessages, just you sending me pictures of him being in first in every category known to man. Like, there's no arguing against that. I mean, that just screams MVP in every way.
Yeah, he had a bad first month, maybe the worst month statistically of his career. But over his last 86 games, he's slashing 370. He's slashing 373. That's a 373 batting average over 86 games. A 505 on base percentage. He's getting on base over half of his at bats, whether walking or hitting, and an 813 slugging percentage. Basically over half a season. And that doesn't include all the statistics that you just mentioned. And it's really amazing to think, and I'm not just saying this because I like the Yankees, that in a year where they have Juan Soto, he's Aaron Judge. Like, there's really no – Juan Soto's been fantastic. He's a top 3 player in the American League. He might be a top 3 player in all of baseball on any given day.
Yeah.
But Aaron Judge has just been significantly better in almost every category, at least of late. So it's amazing to think about that. All right. I would say probably 1 or 2 final questions for each of us before we
Agreed. Yeah.
If you can think of any.
I'll keep it in college football for my last question. It feels like a good college football night. Okay, so my question to you is, um, I'm gonna name you transfer portal quarterbacks,
Okay.
and you're just gonna throw out a number confidence meter 1 to 10 in terms of the situation they're in and how, I guess, likely they are to be successful this season.
Okay.
All right. So first, Dylan Gabriel at Oregon on a scale of 1 to 10.
8.5.
Okay.
It's a tougher conference.
yeah.
There are going to be a lot of interesting environments that he's going to go into that are a lot different than playing in the Big 12. But he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country last season. He's experienced, and it doesn't get much better than Tej Johnson and Evan Stewart, who transferred from A&M at the wide receiver position as a 1-2 punch combo as your weapon. So have very high confidence in Dylan Gabriel at Oregon.
Yeah, me too. I would probably be right around the same ballpark. Okay, next quarterback, DJU at Florida State.
That's an interesting one. I'm not as confident. I'm about a 7. I have some confidence, but I'm not super confident in the respect that we're going to see DJU become on a consistent week-to-week basis the kind of quarterback that can take Florida State to the heights they want to achieve, which are like playing in a semifinal in the college football playoff, competing for a national championship. I'm not as confident in that respect, but in the respect that he could be the best quarterback in the ACC and lead them to an ACC championship game with the talent they have on their team, it's about a 7 for me. Maybe a 7.5 for DJU.
Yeah, the number that popped in my head was a 7 also. Okay. Next one. Let's go with Will Howard.
Ooh. Okay. I'm between like a 7.5 and an 8. He's proven that he's a winner at a program with, let's just be honest, not near as much talent as he's going to have surrounding him at Ohio State.
Right.
He's won a conference championship before. He's played in big games. I think I'd probably give him the benefit of the doubt because of that and say it's like an 8-ish. But at the same time, what is it going to look like the first time you travel to a place like Oregon instead of going to Iowa State? You know, what's it going to look like? And he has played at Texas many times before. You know, so it's not like he hasn't played in big environments. He has played at OU, but there are a lot of different varying factors in the Big Ten. The weather plays a big factor later on the year. I just want to see how that works out. But I do have very high confidence given what's surrounding him, the coach that he has in Ryan Day from an offensive standpoint, and given what we've seen from Will Howard from a leadership standpoint and from just an intangibles, being a winner kind of guy, I have pretty high confidence in Will Howard. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, last one. We've talked about Cam Ward quite a bit, but so I'm going to go somewhere else with it. Let's go with Riley Leonard at Notre Dame.
Ooh. Seven and a half-ish. And I only say that because it's just hard to know. And this can be fair or unfair. If he's going to stay upright. That's a big question going into this year, coming off, I believe it was ankle injury last year that kept him out towards the end of the season. But I do think, as with most of these transfer quarterbacks, he gets a favorable schedule for the most part at Notre Dame, aside from going, to face his former coach in a hostile environment in week 1 against Texas A&M. And then a game against USC, who I don't think will factor much into, or I don't anticipate factoring much into the national landscape of the college football playoff. Notre Dame has a very favorable schedule. They should be a team that's competing for the playoff. But there are some things that I have questions about from a Riley Leonard player standpoint. And I'm still waiting for the Notre Dame wide receivers to take that next step. So I'll say about a 7.5. I really like Riley Leonard. But I might actually say out of all these guys, out of all the transfer quarterbacks, I might be the most confident in. I think it would come down to Dylan Gabriel or Cam Ward. And I might even give the edge to Cam Ward. I just am extremely high on Cam Ward.
Me too, man. I think we've made that clear on Dithole that
Yeah.
we both
Go check out our Miami
on-
preview.
yeah.
We're
both
on the
Cam
Cam
Ward
Ward
train.
Yeah. We might be presidents of the fan club.
Yeah.
Okay. We might have time for one final question. So do either you or I'll give you this to end the show. Rank these outcomes as most likely to least likely in your opinion. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And we're talking Brandon Ayuk here. The Brandon Ayuk trade saga that continues. We get new updates every hour of like what's going on and different wording. It's kind of funny, the back and forth here. But from most likely to least likely outcome, and I'll give you 4 options here. Number 1, he signs an extension with the 49ers. That's an outcome that could happen. Number 2, he gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. Number 3, he gets traded to the Cleveland Browns or another sleeper team that we're not talking about right now. Or number 4, none of those happen. It ends up being a total disaster. He holds out, or he just ends up deciding he's going to play on his, his 5th-year option or the franchise tag, whatever he's playing on. I think it's his 5th-year option. So the options from most likely to least likely for you to rank are signs an extension with San Francisco, gets traded to Pittsburgh, gets traded to the Browns, who are the other real team that's being mentioned, or another sleeper team, or kind of the other category, which is he holds out or he just plays on his 5th-year option. What do you think happens? Most likely to least likely?
Least likely, I think, is him re-signing with the 49ers at this point.
Okay.
Then next, I would probably put Cleveland, just because I don't see them being able to get a deal like that done. I just think with all the money they got on the books for Watson and Myles Garrett, do you really want to bring in another $25+ million a year player and really make this roster top heavy?
Yeah.
I think that's the question they got to ask themselves. And I think ultimately they'll lean against it, unless they're really desperate to keep him out of Pittsburgh, which I would get it, I guess. Next, So the last two options is Pittsburgh, and then he holds out, and it's messy.
Or in that option, he just ends up playing on his fifth-year option, and this carries on into that's one scenario. He
Okay,
holds out and okay,
I would probably have the Steelers um, as less likely than that.
okay,
Um, just because I think for the 49ers standpoint, they don't have a whole lot of reason to trade him at this point. I think waiting till the trade deadline might be beneficial, maybe, just because you might get more for him at that point. Or I don't know. I think you can kind of see what Ricky Pearsall can do, and then you kind of go from there. I'm not really sure.
okay. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
I think legitimately that right now it kind of seems to me that while the Browns and the Patriots have been mentioned as the two other main teams, we know, as it was reported by Adam Schefter, Patriots have withdrawn themselves from that discussion as Ayuk. I mean, you're not trading for Ayuk's not getting traded to a place where he's not signing an extension. And while New England was aggressive in their offer, Ayuk, just from what has been reported, doesn't want to go to that mess. Cleveland, it's hard to say. A lot of people are saying he doesn't want to go to Cleveland, but it's not totally out of the cards yet.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, the vibe is because of what he said on a podcast with Ryan Clark called the Pivot Podcast, is that he does want to go to Pittsburgh. It's one of his preferred destinations. But I think with the Steelers, their problem is, number one, will Omar Khan be willing to potentially match and give in to San Francisco's demands? Is he desperate enough to try to pry away Ayuk from the 49ers before the season starts? And then number two, it kind of seems to me like the Steelers are bidding against themselves in a way right now, because there's really no other team that's really been significantly mentioned as talking to the 49ers on a consistent basis like the Steelers have been. So I think those are the issues that the Steelers are running into. But at the same time, I also don't know that having a situation where Brandon Ayuk is unhappy and he continues to hold out helps the 49ers right now. But it also really doesn't hurt him, because at least you still have him in some on your team, and you could end up getting maybe more for him come the trade deadline when injuries happen and things happen throughout the course of the NFL season. So yes, I think it's already taken a lot of patience, but I think we're going to need more patience to see how this actually ends up playing out.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else for tonight?
No, I think that's it, man. This was a good one. I think Olympics and a little bit of baseball, but mostly college football.
Yep.
As you can probably tell, we are really getting excited about this upcoming college football season. What are we? 14 days away? Wait.
First game
August 21st is Texas's opening.
No, so Texas's opening game is August 31st.
31st, right.
So we're still like 3.5 weeks away from that. But week 0 of college football is August 24th. So we're really only 2.5 weeks away from the first actual college football game. So we are talking a lot of college football. If you didn't see our first edition of Texas Football Recruiting Weekly. Make sure you go check that out. You can find it under the live section of our channel, as you can all of our other content. We recorded a great episodes last night. One, an episode of Deep in the Heart of Longhorn Sports, another continuing our NFL preview series. Emmy, from what I understand, is traveling to Dallas tomorrow.
Mhm.
So we will not be recording. There will not be any content tomorrow. But do expect some content this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and or Sunday. We haven't worked out the specifics, but there are going to be 1 or 2 episodes that happen over the course of those days. So keep an eye out for that. My parting shot, I don't know that I actually have one, but I'm excited to watch the semifinals in the finals of the Olympic basketball. I'm going to try to pay closer attention to that than I have been. But for now, for myself, for my co-host Emmy Nixon, we will see you this weekend. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Check out our Patreon. The link you can find down below. And we'll see you next time on the Raw Prospect Podcast. Peace out.